Yo, what's up?
Yo, fired up for today, Stuart. I've got some of my favorite dudes in the entire world. If you logged off, it literally might be a group of my favorite dudes in the world. But obviously, as a co-host, it just makes it awkward. Both our pictures are on the thumbnail, like all that good
Yeah,
stuff. So, no, I'm just kidding, dude. I love you. But hey, today is a special episode. Super excited. We've been talking with the members of the Kinetic Man Mastermind, the OGs, the original group, the guys that really we asked to trust us and be the original group to start this thing. And what's really interesting is just the growth that I've experienced personally, that I know you've experienced, Steven's experienced, but this group collectively, just some of the stuff that's happened has been absolutely life changing. And so we just wanted to run a podcast with some of these dudes and let them tell us, how. And again, this is what happens when you get together with a tribe and challenge each other to be better and do amazing things, right? Like, this has nothing to do with Stu or David. That has to do with every one of these dudes taking action. And I'll tell you, the investment they've poured back into us has far exceeded anything I've poured into this group. Like, I have changed tremendously based on the dudes in this group. And I can honestly say that I love every single one of these guys.
100%, man. One thing to clarify, OG doesn't that stand for original gangster, not original
Original
group?
gangsta.
I just want
I never said original group.
You did.
Definitely.
You
No,
said
this
original
is the
group.
original group, the
Oh,
OGs. The
oh,
original. Come on, man. Like, anybody who's listened to '90s gangster rap, like, knows what an OG is. I don't know. You're probably, that may be outside of your
oh. I got
expertise.
some
Yeah,
gangster rap
man.
in the '90s in my repertoire, in my
Yeah, you do.
playlist. Hey,
Yeah, you
no,
do.
seriously, so dudes, like, you guys are the ones that we went to when David and I were struggling. Like, I mean, we selfishly started this group because we needed to surround ourselves with a group of men that will like help us and lift us up and ride along this journey with us. And so like David said, like, we love you dudes, and like, you guys have truly impacted us positively in ways that you probably won't ever know. So I just want to start saying that, like, thanking you guys, because I have grown tremendously. I've changed tremendously because of you dudes. And I'm not going to try to cry on this episode. That has happened in the past with probably some of you guys. But
Some
some,
of the guys.
yeah, some.
All the dudes. And so, just a real quick run through. I'll just say who's here for those listening: John Laney, James Gray, Stu Grazer, obviously, Alan Thompson, Marcus Long, Russell Kimuda, and Dave Perez are on this call. Stephen Heptig is also going to be joining us shortly. And one other thing I just want to highlight: what this is. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to just brush over this. This group, the original Gangstas especially, was hours and hours of conversation behind the scenes with Stu and I and Steven on who are the dudes that we look up to, that we respect, that we love, that challenge us, that are better than us in so many different ways. And it took intentionality to reach out to each of these dudes. And there was a chance, and some guys said no, right? And there was a chance to put yourself out there, to be denied, to be like, hey man, it just doesn't really sound like something I want to do. There's guys that came in that I love, still love to this day, that have left. So there's a level of vulnerability that always happens when you seek to surround yourself with incredible human beings. But if you're not doing it, you're missing out. If you're not intentionally pursuing other men or women, women listeners, if you're not intentionally pursuing people that challenge you to be better and spending time with them, then your life is less than. I'll just be absolutely blunt. Your life is less than by not doing that. And so this group here, and if you are watching the video, incredibly handsome, well established. That is a bar to entry for our group. Handsomeness. And I can also attest, the dudes in this group have gotten handsomer as a result of being
True
in this
statement.
mastermind.
True
So
statement.
let's kick it off.
Let's do
Let's
this.
kick it off.
Yeah. So when we started this thing, we came up with essentially 10 areas of our life that we wanted to improve in, that we wanted to focus in, that we said are important in our life, but our actions weren't matching our words. And so, these, we would dive into monthly conversations on specific topics. And we called it the Kinetic Life Circle. At the very beginning of this journey that we went on with the OGs, we all graded ourselves in these areas where we thought we were, where we sat, scale of 1 to 10, where we felt we were in these areas. And we've gone through the entire Kinetic Life Circle now, and we regraded ourselves about a month ago. And for the last couple of weeks, we've been reflecting on, where we sat, the journey that we went on, where we improved tremendously, where we failed tremendously. And so this conversation that we want to have is just a reflection on how we've done, what went well, what major breakthroughs we've had, and kind of just go through that journey together. So first kind of question that, we posed is, was there an area on the Kinetic Life Circle that you grew like most significantly in, and what action or change led to that growth? I'm going to start with who I see in the top, John Laney. Just give us a quick, like, who you are, and then talk to us about one area where you saw some major growth.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. Yeah, so you said you joined this group selfishly, or you started this group selfishly. Well, I joined it selfishly because I got out of the Navy in 2020, and then thought life was going to be awesome. And then I had the toughest year of my life after that. So I was very clear when I got this invite that I needed some other men to come around me and provide me meaning and help out in that transition, and the John Laney 2.0. So I've got my kinetic circle, which I refer to at least once a week. I think what I've grown most significantly in is the realization of enough is enough. I'm a guy that's never satisfied. Like no matter how much money, how much relationship, no matter how clean my car is, I'm never satisfied at that. And having conversations with guys to understand that I can be satisfied at a certain level. I've achieved it, and I no longer need to spend nights staying up, fiddling on my spreadsheet, trying to get to that final satisfaction. And so, especially in areas such as finance, giving, health are some of the areas where I've realized that I am satisfied at where I am, and I can be content, and I can be happy with where I am.
Dude, I love that. I want to also highlight one thing. John has spreadsheets for days. Like, dude can spreadsheet anything, and will most likely has spreadsheeted. I don't know if it's a verb or not, but we made it a verb
For me.
But I do want to. I want to. One thing that has been so impactful for me with you, John, is it's not that you're settling, and it's not that you're lowering the bar. It's that it's the process of acknowledging the good, being grateful, and also choosing the intentional life of contentment as you're striving to be better in ways, and being able to be like, man, I actually have done some amazing things, celebrating those moments, and then being able to, be content and find peace. It's not about lowering standards. Anybody knows John knows that there's no low standards in his life. It's about acknowledging, being able to live in the present and be fully engaged and give fully of yourself, not always somewhere else. Like, well, I could be washing my car again. I could be doing this. I'm in the moment. I'm investing. And dude, you've done that in your family. You just came back from an awesome trip. I took inspiration from that and took my own, big trip. And so, dude, I just want to acknowledge you in that.
Thanks, man.
I want to also add that, John, you're, besides Dave Perez, I mean, he's like grandpa level, but like you're kind of one of the older guys in the group. And, you have been somewhat of a mentor to a lot of the guys here just by, your questions, and just by your thoughts, advice, your experiences, of the way you've done it. I mean, you retired from the Navy and then moved your whole family down to Mexico and started like serving in an orphanage. And like, all of us were like, whoa, that's pretty rad. But then you had a lot of, lessons learned and experiences from that.
Struggles. It was super tough. Extreme struggles. A total loss of meaning. Yeah. Totally. You can say it was very, very hard.
Well, but you still you still powered through and you went on this journey and you continue to offer lessons learned. And I won't ever forget. And, David and I had nothing to do with it. Like James, and I'm going to call on you next. Like James said something to you, John Laney, in one of our calls. And he basically just said, John, what you just said has changed my life. I won't ever forget it, man. And again, it had nothing to do with what David and I said. It was what you said. And it impacted James in a way. I don't even remember what it was, James. I don't know if you remember what it is, but whatever you said has changed the way that he looks at life. So James, over to you,
man. I do remember one was also Dave Perez said. I remember exactly what Dave Perez said to James, where he said, dude, that changed my life. And it was when we were talking about dads. And Dave Perez said, have you ever considered how your dad felt in that moment? Have you put yourself in his perspective? And the whole group was like, oh, wow. So I remember that moment. I get goosebumps. I just got goosebumps again. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. And those things happen all the time.
Well, and that was the impetus for us even starting that roles exercise of like defining the roles that you have in your life and going through that reflection exercise and writing those down, what that looks like. James, over to you, man. Give us some thoughts on, give us who you are and, where you found some growth this last 18 months.
Yeah, thanks, gents. James Gray. So I'm 12 years into an Air Force officer career, helicopter pilot by trade, and get to instruct at ROTC right now, my alma mater, Texas Tech. Phenomenal job, love where I'm at. But I'll start kind of, my draw to this group was, I knew you and Dave, but you know how you get emails all the time of like, hey, I got a buddy looking for this thing, I vouched for him. It was much stronger when you guys called me and said, hey, we want to do this thing. We want to get a group of men together and we want you to be part of that group. And in a way, we're vouching for these other like-minded individuals. And so I wanted to jump on that chance to be a part of a group that honestly I didn't feel I was worthy of when I started meeting everybody. I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm definitely bringing up the rear when it comes to character and just different stages of life. So it was awesome. I was hesitant at first. And then the amount of growth there's probably an example for every single person in here of where it like impacted my life. So my big ones are family and giving, and it's tied to probably what John Laney was talking about with Mammon in the beginning of our conversations. And I struggled with this kind of idolatry towards money and finances. And so giving was tough for me. This idea of giving was, and still is, really, really tough. I battle it. But I saw tremendous growth over this last year, in particular with some of the items that John Laney also struggled with and brought to my attention. My family piece does hit with my father. So by far the biggest growth I had dealt with him. So I hadn't spoken to my father or seen my father in over 30 years. And there had been family members who tried to get me to start from a place of forgiveness for him. And in order to do that, you have to be able to empathize. And I never put myself in maybe my father's shoes until DP started talking through those items. And I noticed that forgiveness is forgive. There's a giving piece to forgiveness too. And so on my journey to giving was also this journey towards family to kind of forgive, not necessarily rekindle, but just send a letter to my father. And I didn't have any expectations, but I definitely felt better. And I since I've grown, and it's kind of complicated my life in other ways that I won't get into, but that was a step. That was an action step. We talk about being a kinetic man. Like I sat down, I wrote a letter of forgiveness. I came from a place of empathy, and he responded it to me. And I didn't read it until I got on this call. I had the letter with me here at work because I only use my work address. And I wanted to share it with you men first. So the first time I read those words for over 30 years and all the scar tissue and everything else associated with that, I wanted to share with you all. So that was the level of intimacy backed by the kinetic energy of actually doing something that this group brought into my life.
Yeah, man. Again, talk about moments. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. Just, the impact and the power and, so significant. I mean, a lot of groups of men get together and talk business and making money and all these kind of things. And I love that. And it's great. And we talk about those things as well, but it's stuff like this, right? It's huge, impactful changes in lives. And dude, I just want to acknowledge you again that just how powerful that was for me, how transformative that was for me, and the way that I think about how I interact with my family was, to this day, it still has, I was just thinking about your story in the way that I react with my wife, after how we call it, a strong debate. We weren't fighting, we were just strongly debating a topic, and just how I show up. So that it was, what a beautiful moment, dude. And I just also want to acknowledge to the group, like James, suggesting that he didn't belong in the group, I think is kind of hilarious, because oftentimes the quotes and the things that he says are things we write down and use for like thumbnails and for insights from the group, because they're just pure gold. So yeah, man. Well, and you're awesome. Thank you.
One other thing, James, I just want to add that impacted me. You and I were Kinetic partners on a month, and you were taking your son on a snowboarding trip, just you and your son on a trip to go snowboarding together. And you told me, and it impacted me because it's created a sense for me to have this same feeling, do these same things. But you said that you finally feel like you're a good dad. And that was impactful to me, man. So I love it. Love it. Marcus, speaking of giving, you're an amazing giver. You show up, you offer value to this entire group, and not only like giving financially, but like, we have a donor advice fund. You give regularly to that thing, but you just show up and you add value like all the time. Like, it's amazing, man. Tell us who you are and where you've seen growth this year.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. I really appreciate that. So Marcus Long, I'm a husband, father of two, and just transitioned after 21 years in the Navy out last fall, and super blessed to be surrounded by the caliber of men in this group, many who had just previously, or maybe going through transition at the same time as I was, to be surrounded by them. And so I think when I look at the past year too, family has been a large one for me, a lot of other areas as well. But, Dave just mentioned, talking about like, there's a lot of groups where we talk about business and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of, when we're in those groups, drivers to do more, to scale, to grow bigger. Right. And it's like, it's never enough, And I think one of the things for me is the timing of this group and being invited to join you all couldn't have been more perfect for me, because as I approached my final year in the military, one of the real priorities for me was my family. That was what drove me to make the decision to transition out of the military when I did. And I didn't want to just talk about being a better father and a better husband. I wanted to take action and do that. Right. And so as I was making that transition, and as I mentioned, like being an entrepreneur now, and it's very challenging when you can do a lot of things from your computer and your phone at home to separate, your family time and your work time and things like that. And so, I'll give you a couple of just like very quick, basic examples of like actions or things that I did that have been, I think, super impactful for me and my family. And a lot of it is because being around you guys every week and, talking about these things that are important make me more aware. So if I am on my phone or computer, like in the evening, which does happen on occasion, I'm not going to suggest that it doesn't, but it makes me more aware what my kids are seeing, right? Instead of me playing with them or doing something with them, they're seeing me on the computer or the screen. And so a couple quick examples is prior to the transition, every morning, like I'd wake the kids up, I'd be over at my computer trying to get some work done, some real estate stuff done before I went in and did my W-2, right? And that hour was just a disaster and a chaos, right? Like I'd go back and the kids weren't dressed like they were supposed to be dressed. And then I get upset, and because I'm upset, they're upset. And that was just chaotic. And so one of the things I did as my transition is I just blocked that time off in the morning for them, right? Like I expect to get no work done during that hour. That's their time. I go through the wake up process and make them breakfast. If they're, having lunch, for school, I make that with them. And I think they know, like, they are my focus during that time. A lot of times my wife goes and works out in the morning, so it's just me and the kids. And that's special time with us being together. Another thing is I try to really schedule all of my calls like during the day while they'll be at school. And that way, when they come home at the end of the day, if they're down the neighborhood playing or something, if I'm not out there, then, when I do something, maybe I will. But if they walk in the door and they say, "Hey, Daddy, can we go play ball in the backyard?" The answer is yes, right? Like, I don't want calls that are like, "Hey, I have this call. I'll do it a little bit later." And so to the extent possible, I try to plan as much of that during the day while they are gone. And I think that both them in the morning and in the evening knowing that I'm available, that I can say yes, and that I will spend time with them has been really impactful for them, our relationship, and also for the relationship with my spouse, to, kind of seeing, taking responsibility for more of the things within the house, and also the father that I am to her children as well.
Dude,
Marcus,
I love that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask Marcus, I was going to put him on the spot and say, are you less successful in your business because you have put your family first?
I don't think so. No, I think, that, a lot of the people in my partners and people that invest with me and things like that, like they see you for the full person that you are. Right. And I think whenever I can show up for my family, and they kind of see that and stuff, and that I can show up better for them. I can show up better for my partners and for my investors and stuff whenever, things are good at home, things are good with my kids and my wife and all of that. And so I don't think I'm any less successful in the business.
Yeah. And I love that you talked about a lot of business groups, are really pushing to like always be more, be better, have more doors. But one of the language that we use here is redefining success. And so I think we think collectively that a lot of what men are struggling in today's world is living somebody else's definition of success. And so I've just seen in my own life and all of the men around us, defining our calendars and our checkbooks to match with our values has really kind of like opened up the world to us and almost given you more, me more time in my day if it were to spend time with my family while still getting stuff done in business and investing and everything else.
Yeah, I love that, Stephen. And, John mentioned it just a little bit early about like, what is enough, right? And so that is I think there's a lot of these groups, and they help us to understand the steps and how do we scale. But, understanding like, what is enough for me? What is success? And it's like, why am I? What's the purpose of scaling and growing the business? If it's all for the family, but I'm not spending time with them, then why am I really growing the business?
Yeah, Marcus is being a little bit humble as well. He's absolutely crushing it in real estate, doing amazing things. And I will say that at all our retreats, there's certain feedbacks we get. Marcus has been to have you been to all of them, Marcus? You missed one. No, you've been to all of them.
Yes, I've been all of them.
Yeah, you've been to all of them. And one of the biggest feedbacks we get is the time I spent in the car with Marcus getting schooled up on syndications and multifamily. Like, that is a legitimate feedback we get every single time we have a retreat, because people, you pour into people and you just give freely of that knowledge. You've done presentations as groups. So dude, it's awesome. And the idea of managing your calendar and having it reflect your priorities sounds so simple. And anybody, I think, in the world would be like, oh yeah, it sounds, but nobody does it. That's the thing. Nobody does it. The calendars don't reflect what is the priority for them. And you just highlighting the morning routine is so empowering. And, like Russ is a morning routine guy that just puts us all to shame. But, Marcus, the fact that you did that, most people don't do that very simple thing because it's not easy and it makes a huge impact. So thank you for sharing that. I love it. It's freaking rad.
Marcus, I actually thought about you this morning. I actually had a investor call with someone who wants to buy a house from us at Storehouse. And for some reason I scheduled it kind of early in the morning. It's summertime. My kids are out of school, and my son asked me if I'd go ride the bike, and I said yes. And I canceled the investor call and told him, hey man, I can't make it today. I have some family time that I need to prioritize. And he totally understood, man. He totally understood. It's like, hey, let's schedule it for, later in the day. And I was just honest with him, and just, I thought about you because you and I have had those talks a lot about like prioritizing family versus, work, investor time. And so, thank you.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Stu, I'm actually just shocked. I'm actually shocked you know how to ride a bike, dude. I didn't know that.
Dude.
Like, I didn't know you could ride a bike. So
still has training wheels on it.
No, dude.
You should see him going up the mountain. We have these mountain bikes that got all like full suspensions, and he's got these 2 little training wheels. They're all terrain. They're tight.
All terrain training wheels. Last time I remember us going up the big hill at Green Mountain, I made it up, and you
beat me up the hill. You beat me up the hill. I couldn't find you on the downhill though. I was like, dude, is Stu ever coming down this mountain? Like, I'm waiting at the bottom, having a cup of tea.
That's because you're like 100 pounds heavier than I am.
And stronger. Next topic. This is not about you and me, Stu. This is it's about the OGs.
Let's talk to Big Al. Speaking about health, and getting after it. Big Al got after it these last 18 months.
Yeah. Al Thompson, Naval Academy grad, former CIA officer, and now I sell chicken for a living as a Chick-fil-A operator. And probably partaked in too many chicken sandwiches over the years. And so I found myself in a situation where I just wasn't in the best shape. And I think when we got to Health Month, what I greatly appreciated about this group is the honest introspection that we would all have across every, dimension of the Kinetic Circle. And when we got there, I mean, I kind of did the same. And I think DP kind of challenged me in one of our conversations as a group and just said, hey, what's the cost of inaction? Right. And that really hit me. And the thought was, hey, I want to be around for my family. I want to be around to watch my little girl grow up. And so I got to do something. And so, the vulnerability in the group really kind of made me get to a point saying, hey, look, I need help with this, right? I can't do it on my own. And so I went out and found a weight loss coach and really just started focusing heavily on diet and exercise. And, started small, right? It was started with just take a walk every morning, right? Just get up, take a walk for 20 or 30 minutes. Eventually, as I got, more, stamina, I'd walk longer, walk faster. Then you start doing things on the Peloton. Then you start doing other workouts and, kind of going from there. But, and you see that it permeates through all the other aspects of your life. And quite frankly, a lot of other parts of the Kinetic Circle, right? I mean, when you talk about time with kids and family, well, I can spend more time and have more energy now because I'm in better shape, right? And so, when you take the bike ride, it's not like, oh, I'm so exhausted. It's like, oh yeah, I feel great. Yeah, let's go do it, right? And so, I mean, I've been just grateful for the group, in that area of my life, and down 30 pounds, hoping to drop another 20 to 30. And just feel great. I mean, we've, some of even the vacations we've had the last couple of months, I feel like I've enjoyed them more because I've actually been in better shape to enjoy them more and do stuff, right? Not just sit around at the pool, which ain't bad, but you also want to mix in some adventure and being able to, do these adventures, river swims and going swimming with dolphins and those types of things, been awesome. But, I couldn't see, 6 or 9 months ago, if we had proposed doing those things, I would have tapped out at some point, right? And probably said, nah, made an excuse and not done it. But I'm just thankful to you guys for the conversations, and the encouragement.
But dude, I also want to highlight, so Al, one of my longest, dearest friends, me, Al, Stu, we all met at the Naval Academy, all classmates. And so, there's a lot of history there, but I'll tell you, I've learned so much about you, and you've also poured so much energy and thought and wisdom into the group. And you and I regularly speak. Actually, I talk to a number of you regularly, but just the conversations of it was ironic. The last longer conversation we had, I was starting to climb a mountain. I was huffing and puffing. We're talking about investing, but we're talking about investing, but from the framework of how you invest knowledge into others too, how you help others to see these different possibilities, different realms. Talked through a couple books. I was dying, but it was just very ironic because you've lost, I mean, significant, dude, 30 plus pounds, like is huge, life-changing. And just the process of being vulnerable with that, and you pouring into other dudes, and also I'm not gonna mention any names, and you guys can feel free to if you'd like, but there's guys in this group that are literally coaching and talking to each other independent of this group, significantly pouring into and changing each other's lives. That has been just an absolute a revelation that to me has been so special and meaningful, and you're a big part of that. So love you, man.
Yeah, no. I mean, and I'm gonna shout out DP because DP is my coach and he's worked with me. One of the things I looked at when we talked about health, I mean, I focused on the physical health, but one of the things I saw that was a problem for me was stress management, and sitting down, having conversations with DP helped me to kind of get to the root of that and understand, like, yeah, hey, you gotta manage these things, and for me, I'm a workaholic, man. I love working, right? But I got to a point where it's like, hey, look, 4 or 5 o'clock in the day, I just got to stop working, right? Put everything away, focus on family, don't let things overwhelm me or keep it going until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so, of course, grateful to Dave and his sound. And I won't call it advice because he's coaching, right? So you get to these you ask questions and you eventually get to the kind of the conclusion on your own. But just being challenged and not just him, but again, other guys in the group, both in the mastermind sessions that we have weekly, but individual breakouts. I mean, just like you said, everybody I think pours wisdom into each other, and it's just iron and sharpen iron.
I just want to highlight something that we're talking about individual transformations and impacts, but I have had the privilege of seeing kind of a shift of our thinking as a group altogether. I think that we came from a lot of us are transitioning out of the military, and our shift in thinking about how we approach identifying an area in our life that we know we need to make change in, committing to investing in that, both dollars and treasure and time, and then going out and finding a professional to help us, I think is huge. I think that it is something that, again, men that are successful, I mean, this group is wildly successful. That we're kind of keeping bios short, but the amount of career peaks in this group is a lot. And all of us being able to say, hey, if I wanted to be an Olympic archery, what would I do? What would be the first step that I would do? I would go out and I would find a professional that teaches archery and work me through that, right? But for some reason, finances, wills, estate planning, health, mental wellness, marriage, right? Like these are things that as men, we are resistant to go find professionals to help us walk that journey with us. But we have normalized that in this group, and we've called each other out like, hey, have you considered thinking about this? Or Al, you have brought it multiple times to us like, hey, I have searched out somebody who is a professional in, my estate planning, and you guys should think about this, right? Like you guys need to do this. It's not just something that is reserved for other people, right? And I just love the fact that we have normalized bringing professionals in to help us in these areas that we want to make gains in.
Speaking of coaches, David Perez, you got called out. We call him Grandpa. He is the oldest dude in our group.
We don't call him Grandpa.
Oh.
This is the first time you've ever called him Grandpa. That's hilarious. But I do want to clarify when Al says DP, he's talking about Dave Perez. This is who we're talking about.
That's right. And he probably will outwork all of us. But DP.
But he also is a grandpa.
Grandpa.
Like I don't want to lose that. It's a very special role, and we should embrace that.
DP.
Okay. So great to be on today. Yes, I'm a grandpa of 7, a father of 6, a happily married husband, a beautiful woman, Christina, friend of David. And that's what kind of got me to this group. And like many of you guys, or some of you guys you mentioned, John and Marcus in particular, I joined right around the time I decided to make the transition after 33 years in the military, to finally put my family first. Right, I did it because of the family. I was going through decades of chasing titles, what's next and that sort of thing, and my kids and my wife, my mother, they all remind me, David does too, how good of a father I am and all those things. But, deep down inside, I was just, I could be a better father. One of the things that Stu, brought up a couple of times already is the statistics on the diminishing time that we have with our kids as they get closer to like the teenage years. I had a conversation with my kids about that, and that actually made their awareness sharper too. Like I saw my son Samuel, who's going to be 17, kind of taken aback a little bit. Like, wow, Dad, that's crazy. How much little time we have. So I've found, and one of the things that you guys talked about is the fact that we meet on a weekly basis and we talk about this wheel and all these areas. We deep dive in these things, and not only we talk conceptually about these or pontificate on it, they make us come up with an action plan, and then they hold us accountable, and then we meet individually with our Kinetic Man partner, and between meetings, and we ask each other, what have you done on that topic? What can you do? And it makes me feel like I better step up my game as a husband, as a father, in the different areas when I'm holding someone else accountable, right? Because otherwise I would be hypocritical. So I thought the transition was to the civilian life was going to be easy. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a planner, but you can't plan for how life is going to throw things at you and how you're going to emotionally react to those things. When I lost my tribe in the military, I kept on doing things. I'm an entrepreneur now. Got 2 businesses going at once, and a lot of the confidence and the know-how was from you guys. But I lost the team, right, that I had in the military. I always had a team, a sense of purpose to helping grow that team. And it's different as an executive and leadership coach. I help individuals, but when you have your own team and the sense of mission, it's just different. So I lost that, and that had an impact on me emotionally. And this space, this venue and this team has allowed me to be comfortable being vulnerable and saying, look, guys, I need help. And I reached out to several of you, and some of you reached out to me during that period of time that I hit a low. So to have a group of amazing men that are more than willing to step up when someone needs. And when you get to know them, you sort of feel like when someone needs something, right? You can see it, you can hear it in the voice, and you guys don't hesitate to pick up the phone or send a text, and they always come at the right time. So the area that I think I grew the most was family. As a father, so what I was getting at before is that because we meet so regularly, these things are in the forefront of our mind. Like, think, pause before you go approach this situation with your son who just messed up. So think, choose your words, carefully with a woman that has given you everything in your life, and measure your words, things like that. Oh shoot, it's Thursday. Let me call. Thankful Thursday, right? Grateful Thursday. And let me call someone. Let me text someone, and it's just these conversations are in the forefront. So the power that it has, even in the absence of this meeting, right, is incredible, because it will just surface, and it makes you act in the way that you have committed to grow in those areas of your life. So I want to give opportunities to other people, but yeah, it's helped me in all those areas.
Thank you for sharing, man. And I will say, I think you highlighted one really important point, a lot of important points, but the actually two that stuck out to me is, one, it's constant. It changes the way you think, and it changes the way you react and the way you act, which has been hugely impactful to me. But also, I love this group is not a kumbaya session that's always feel good. We're here for each other, for like the trenches, right? Like I am so confident that if anything goes in my life, good or bad, but if something bad happens, I have a group of dudes that without hesitation, I can reach out to. That is a powerful, powerful thing that many people, especially men, don't have. And it's a beautiful, and I really appreciate you highlighting that. It's awesome.
Yeah. And, I would say, because, I could thank each and every one of you individually. When I coach Al, I get something out of it. I grow. When you give to others, you get more. And we discussed that in our last retreat. And, for someone who's, you guys know, addicted to education and all that, just started a doctorate degree, I must say, and I said it before, my best graduate course has been riding with Marcus on the way back to the airport for an hour. I was taking notes on my phone and said, "Hey, Marcus, what was that acronym? How do you?" And then we followed up after that. It was just incredible. So, like, during the retreats, we get all these classes, all these courses, all these talks and official formal talks. But the scuttlebutts, the time in between, are the most valuable conversations that I've had in all those areas that we talked about. So I just want to make sure that I emphasize that. Thanks.
Well, speaking of valuable conversations, I've had a lot of valuable conversations with Russell. Russell's been huge in helping me grow in my mindset, and also just thoughts and ideas towards my spouse and my relationship with that. Russell, you're a marriage coach, and Russell, you were actually the dude who not forced us, but like created the conversation to change an entire title of one of the areas on our Kinetic Life Circle. Like, at first it was romance, and Russell, the love muscle, Kimura, said, "Hey, we need to change it to intimacy." Russell, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. Aloha, everyone. Russell Kimura. I live in Oahu, on the beautiful island in Hawaii. I am the token, non-military. I think when they were thinking of the retreat sites, they're like, maybe we could have one in Hawaii. So we need to bring this guy on just in case we need to go there. But I'm so honored to be with you guys. I have 3 beautiful daughters, a beautiful wife, and an entrepreneur in different ways, creating opportunities to help people get unstuck in whatever solution that they're in, whether it's marriage, solar, you name it, something that I get to be a part of. But at the end of the day, I'm really so glad that I was invited into this circle. And the thing that I think about when you're talking about redefining the different terms from like romance to intimacy. And, one of them is friends. And when I looked at the circle, that was one of my biggest ones. But I would even redefine that word, because in my mind, sometimes as men, we think of friends as, hey, that's the guy that we get a beer with, and I got friends. Like, really, do you have friends, or do you just have guys that you've known, here and there, and you see once in a while? In my opinion, what this group has brought, this circle has brought, is a depth of friendship that is a lot different than a lot of the circles that maybe previously I have been a part of. When DP was talking about tribe, we naturally have tribes as we grow up. Like in elementary school, we have your first grade tribe, or you're in a class, or you go to sports and you have a team. But eventually, when you get older, you don't naturally have tribes anymore for the most part. And so I realized, like, as a man, and then also being on an island, it's weird, but it is kind of isolating. There's an island mentality. There's not a lot of people. I shouldn't put people in category. I'm just saying sometimes you don't grow. You don't look outwards you just kind of look at, what is here, which is beautiful and nice. And I love it. But I like to be challenged. I like to be looking at ways to challenge my new normals. And so this group has done that. When I got invited and then I came on the first one, to be honest, I did feel a little bit intimidated, just because, one, I didn't feel like I fit in. Like, where do I fit in? I'm not a military. I'm not transitioning. But then as time went on, I realized we're all just men trying to be better husbands, better fathers, and living with purpose, and trying to, live life in a way that's meaningful. And I was like, I can jive with that, because that's, for me, one of my hearts is to be around people that are going to challenge me in the areas that make most impact. And whether that's marriage, whether that's family, whether that's finances, whether that's purpose, mindset, to me, the friendship comes out of that. And I don't want, this might sound crude, but I don't want just guys that I can have a beer with once in a while. Like, I want guys who are going to challenge me in meaningful ways, right? In ways that are going to make me be better because of the vulnerability, because of the practical tips. Hey, have you thought about estate planning? Oh, that's making me better. That might be awkward because, like, I don't have something, or I don't know, but like, you're challenging me to be better in all these areas. And so, like, for me, the biggest growth I've seen is, one, the action step, because for me, I get up early anyway, but the calls have been either 5:30 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. for me. And to be able to join this was an honor. It wasn't a chore, like, oh my gosh, I got to get up. It was like, I can't wait to be on these, because I knew the circle that I was joining was going to make me better. It's going to make me better in the areas that mean most to me. And so I really just appreciate this Kinetic Man community, tribe, circle, whatever you want to call it, because each and every one of you guys have made me better, have inspired me to grow, to look at my areas intentionally, rather than just, hey, I'm just going to go at life like how maybe a lot of us might have done it before, where we just take our health for granted, or we take our finance for granted, or giving, or our family. But being really intentional, this group has really brought that to a whole different level. And yes, I haven't made it to the mainland yet for a retreat, but that's my goal. I want to be around you guys. And it's crazy because I feel really close to you, and I've never physically hugged most of you, which is weird. But at the end of the day, I look forward to that. And I'm grateful when you guys do come to Hawaii and I do get to host you at our retreat. We're going to have a blast. So thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah. One thing about you, Russ, that just as we were talking, I was thinking about your and my history and reflecting forward and what that looks like. And it was interesting because I moved to Hawaii. I knew nothing. I knew nobody. And I literally prayed. I was like, God, please. I remember this very, very, very specifically, excuse me. But I remember praying, like, God, I just bring a dude into my life. Like, let me meet somebody. And I think the next day you and I met at church. And then from that day on, man, we were like small groups and hanging out and just talking life and growing together. But what I love about it is that I didn't really think about it in the past, but that was like 20 years ago, dude. And so this group here, the intentionality of connecting and really plugging in with people, I haven't thought of it in these terms, but I can't imagine where this group is going to be in 20 years from now, right? Like, it takes that step, it takes that prayer, it takes that hello, whatever it is, to connect, to intentionally connect with extraordinary human beings, which Russ is absolutely an extraordinary human being. You just have to have him send you his videos of him dancing, doing Hawaiian dancing with his daughters. It's phenomenal. It's awesome. It's beautiful. But that example, right? Just even sending that has made this group grow, and it really excites me to see the benefit and the gifts and the fruit of what happens when you seek out amazing individuals that challenge you to be better. Which, this group is, I couldn't ask for better dudes in my circle. And it's just funny that, Russ, that prayer was 20 years ago. And it's you look like you looked that day, and I have no hair. So that's must be the Hawaii, the drinking water out there.
James says he wants dibs on a Russ hug when we do that retreat.
Alan did not, and you get to know these guys pretty intimately. And there are certain guys that are huggers, and Alan is a closet hugger. He fights it and he doesn't really want to do it, but he loves, for the last 25 years, he's been loving the hugs. He just doesn't want to admit it. Typical James style. Also just drops the mic in the comments of our chat here. He quotes, "Am I building the life I want at the expense of the life I have?" I think that's something to kind of ponder on as you guys are listening to this, and move forward and take action on. James, you came off mute here.
Yeah, there was a theme, like with everybody's kind of review, was this transition from, I think when we're younger men, we value success based on achievement, and you have to gradually move towards contentment. And I think there's stuff that backs that, but everybody's kind of in that transition phase, whether it's in the military, out of the military, or Russ kind of just wanting to sharpen every angle of his life. But like, that transition is not easy. Like, you need help, or else you're just going to wanderly hope that you get contentment. And so, like, as we get older, I'm curious 20 years from now what this group could look like. But like, when we move away from the achievement piece of defining success and redefining maybe for ourselves what it is, and it tends to gravitate towards what is enough, or where will you just be content with what you have accomplished or what you have in front of you, your family. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't wake up and you're like, I'm content. It's like, no, you wrestle with it. And that's a bear that you're in the ring with, that's a goody that you're in the ring with. You're like, how am I going to tackle this beast? How am I going to take out on this person that is transitioning towards contentment? And that's hard. And I don't know that there's a lot of people that know how to navigate that well, but collectively, we're at least giving it a shot.
And I think the other side of that is, and I don't want to minimize this. This is absolutely backed. There's a book we talk about, The Good Life. There's another book that has been very influential to me recently. I know Al, Stu, a few of you have read it. Die with Zero. All these things, these books and these ideas that are backed. It points to relationship, and relationship and experience are the things that you will absolutely fill your heart and fill your life. And as you project forward, I don't think about the businesses that we're going to start, that are inevitable, that we're going to start in this group in the next 20 years. I don't think about all the real estate that we're going to buy. I don't think about all the amazing, trips that we're going to potentially do. I don't think about those things, all the trips that goes to experience. What I do think about is how rich and fulfilled my life is going to continue to be as we continue to grow together in relationship. Because I can say, and I don't know if it's normal, but I can honestly say that my life is full with dudes that I absolutely love and would do anything for. And I am very confident. I live in a state of perpetual confidence that I can pick up the phone and call any number of dudes that have my back no matter what. Like that's pretty special. That's pretty special. And I don't think it's normal, because we don't want to live normal lives, right? We want to be different. We want to be better. We want to be fulfilled. We want to be more than, and that is the essence of this group, and being vulnerable and being honest and growing together and all these things, and trust and love. We get off calls and say, I love you. Like, how many guys leave work and be like, hey man, I love you. It's just not the norm outside of this group. And I love it.
So we kind of wrap this thing up. I know you guys are on, timeline and got to go make more impact elsewhere. you know, like David said, like the relationships in this tribe have been incredibly impactful for me. I'm so grateful for you dudes. I can't wait to continue to have weekly conversations with you guys. Stephen, I know you wanted to kind of end with something here that you know, has some impact as well. What you got, buddy?
Yeah, we've talked a lot today about being able to pick up the phone and call each other, investing with other guys. We call it the speed of trust, because we've really shared intimate details with each other, and we trust each other. We talked about accountability, and I just want to hammer home to anybody who's listening that this is all about having a tribe. You know, we talk about the book, The Good Life, which is an amazing book and talks about the power of relationships on measurable scientific research backed, you know, days of your life, adding days of your life and length of your life based on the quality of your relationships. But you'll find a tribe. If what we have talked about here today sounds like your kind of tribe, then maybe it's the Kinetic Man, and we would love to have you. But if the Kinetic Man is not your tribe, then I just encourage everybody who's listening to go find a tribe that you can be a part of, that you can call on in the bad times, and you can celebrate with in the good times. I think that when you boil everything that we've talked about today down, that's really one of the foundational pieces of what has made this group of men successful together, and why we look back on the last 18 months with such fondness and so many successful stories of impact and change in our lives, at home, with our wives, with our kids, and our businesses, everything.
Well said, sir. Well said. Dudes, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you for showing up today. Goody, you're just okay. I love you too. You got anything else?
Love you. Glad to be on the team.
Yeah, man.
No, so I'm here to be better than okay. And again, I want to highlight it. If you're challenged in the mirror, this group makes you better looking. Like, it just is science. It is backed. It's just science. Love you, dudes. Hey, make it a great day and stay OG.
See ya. See ya.